Powered by Riverside FM.
From the remote corners of the globe, stories emerge of creatures that defy scientific explanation. This week we shine a light on the cryptids you've likely never heard of. The bizarre, the unsettling, the ones that make you wonder what else might be out there, just beyond the edge of our understanding. Tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks.
Hello, I'm Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Tax season is upon us. Did you know that 47% of Americans are planning to use their tax refunds for everyday expenses, home improvements, and vacations? What if you used your tax refund for a new home instead? Again, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Your tax refund can be used towards down payment, closing costs, or paying down existing debt to help get approved. So before you spend that tax refund, let's get together and see how to best utilize those funds to invest in your future and your new home. Call or text me at 502-680-0953. Again, that's 502-680-0953. NMLS ID 448908, Das Acquisitions LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, NMLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
He's alive! Have you checked the children? Get out!
You have scoured the podcast world and finally found us, Newsworthy with Steve and Jerry, where we delve into all things mysterious, macabre, or out of this world, and decide if they are truly newsworthy. 2 words and 2 question marks. You love that, don't you?
Welcome to Newsworthy. 2 words, 2 question marks. I'm Steve.
And I'm Jerry.
And this empty chair is where Brett would sit, typically. Brett, however, is on safari. He is currently in the Pacific Northwest hunting dire wolves.
They're coming back with those. You heard that, huh?
I did hear that. So, Brett, be careful. They're still pups. I think it's probably illegal to hunt one of the most close to extinct animals on the planet, considering there's only 3 of them. But you do you, boo. We got you back. Call us if you need bail money.
Depends on how much they're wanting for bail.
Oh, Brett's worth it,
Might have to
Jerry.
call. I don't know if we can afford it.
Well,
Those endangered animals, they take that far more serious than if you kill the last 5 presidents.
why do you think that? Let me ask your opinion on the dire wolves. And so, this last couple of weeks, they announced that they have not only brought back 1, but they've brought back 3 previously extinct wolves from over 10,000 years ago.
They didn't bring them back. It's not previously dead animals. That's what bringing it back sounds like we've done.
Oh, no. I mean, we brought them back from extinction. So
We've been able to manipulate genetic code to where we have got something very similar to what they were. Yes. So do I'm torn. I think it's one of the greatest waste of money ever. I really do. What possible good comes from this, other than the fact that learning how to do genetic manipulation has some potential benefits, which I don't think we need to be getting into that area to begin with. That whole thing scares the hell out of me.
So,
But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not a big fan of it. You?
I think things go extinct for a reason. to be blunt.
I agree.
I mean, what's next? T-Rex? I mean, it seems to me, now, this may age very badly 5 years from now. Okay, I'm just going to say that disclaimer in advance. But bringing things that have been extinct back from the beyond and letting the AI control everything, we've seen those movies, all of them.
Yeah.
And none of them ended well for humans. Just want to put that out.
And we don't seem to have learned any of the lessons that we should have.
Right. And here's the thing. Are they cute? Is it a great thing? Yeah, I watched a really good interview with one of the lead people behind the dire wolf resurrection. He was on Joe Rogan. Had a great long interview about the mechanics behind it. Fascinating where they found the DNA. These wolves come from a tooth and one other fossilized, and I want to say it's in the brain, in the head, some region. It's like this really dense bone. It is the number one spot to get. It's so dense that the DNA is very protected. And I forget where it is. Maybe the vertebrae. I don't remember. But it was fascinating how they took the DNA from those two things, and they've made now 3 wolves, 2 males and a female. They are protected, obviously. They're on a 2,000-acre preserve. And how I feel about it, they're wolves. We've been reintroducing animals, and there's been a very concerted effort to bring back from the brink of death many animals on the planet. And for humans' satisfaction and for our own self-righteousness, we've done a pretty darn good job at it, to be honest. But what's next? You know what scares me, Jerry? Do you want to know one of the biggest donors to this organization was that did that? CIA.
Really?
What is the CIA doing trying to bring his stuff back from the dead? Not from the dead, from being extinct. The gene manipulation, like you're talking about.
What happens when the CIA decides they want to bring back Genghis Khan?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know what? That's where I was going with this. The CIA has no business spending our tax dollars on a gene manipulation trope, if you will.
These things were huge, too.
Oh, yeah. They're not small.
It's not just a regular wolf.
No.
Gigantic wolf on steroids. And is there a need for this?
Up next is the dodo bird from everything I'm reading.
Yeah.
And it's the world's biggest bird that we're aware of that's not a dinosaur.
The whole thing scares the holy piss out of me.
Can you imagine at some point, not in our lifetime, but probably our children or grandchildren's lifetime, they'll be driving down the road and, we have to stop. There's a road jam because a Tyrannosaurus Rex is eating a cow in the middle of the interstate.
Now, at the same time, the knowledge of how to do this also will give us the ability to make other things go extinct.
Yeah.
Like certain diseases. We can find out, we could erase a possibility of certain diseases, MS, we can get rid of. If parents are willing to go through the gene manipulation process to make sure that their embryo doesn't have any of these. So I get that it has a ton of potential benefits. But to me, when we begin playing God, quote unquote, to this extent that it has some horrible possible repercussions that we know will come out someplace, somewhere.
Because if humanity's taught us one thing, and I hate saying this, but if there is a deplorable, there's a train coming around. I live literally right by the railroad track, so sorry for that. But if there is a deplorable, degraded way of manipulating something in a greed-filled, negative connotation, there's a human out there that's willing to pay for that. And that's sad to say. For all the good that this program could do, we just lost the last white rhinoceros. So could we bring them guys right back? Because we lost them because of us. Is that make it a little better? Dire wolves, they were gone long before civilization, if you will. We'll be talking about that in the upcoming episodes. But, um, we just lost the white rhinoceros. Is that something that would be better suited to bring back from extinction? Who knows? Or should we just, what dies is dead for a reason? Let's leave it that way. It's hard to understand.
It is.
I don't know the answer. I just thought it was fascinating.
I think it's very, very fascinating and very, very scary.
Absolutely.
It
Our
really is.
civilization is, I really believe with which computer company just made the quantum computer? Which one was that?
Don't remember.
With that ability to compute and with the power that AI possesses, humanity has a very real chance at the closest thing to a golden age that you and I will ever see in our lifetime. As far as how fast we can start running into the future now.
Do you remember Elon Musk's predictions
Some of them.
concerning what we're talking about? I don't remember. I'll have to look it up, but he made some predictions recently when asked where he thought AI was headed. And if I remember correct, it was within 2 or 3 years. He thought that AI would be equal to the highest intelligent level of any mankind that's ever lived. He thought within 5 years, AI would be surpassing the cumulative knowledge of all mankind that ever lived, all of them added together.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
That's
disagree.
scary. It's going along exactly with what you're saying.
We've seen that movie.
All of it.
And no one seems to be pumping the brakes. I don't.
And at this point, I don't know how you pump the brakes.
I don't either.
Keep in mind, did you hear that China, they're, what is it? Deep mine, right?
Deep something.
Deep mine, deep sink, deep mine, I think.
I thought it was fish related, but
it passed OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Gemini this week. It is now the number one non-reasoning AI in the world.
wow,
And they were very late to the party.
it's crazy. But they have unfettered. I mean, they have no reason to put restraints on it.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Even if we throw the brakes on it, the
That's-
United States can.
the North Koreas
They're not
and the
going
Chinas.
to. They're not
and
going to.
Irans
If there's
of the
profit
world.
in it, they will go for it. So
Crazy, man. Crazy.
kind of cray.
So
How's your week?
week was good. I tell you what, though, I learned.
What'd you learn?
I freaking hate playing Yahtzee.
Really? I love that game.
No, it's so dicey, man.
And, I see what you did there. I do, but I still like it. I'm having a great week.
Are you?
Well,
That's great.
really am. I renamed my toilet this week.
You renamed your toilet?
Renamed
I didn't know you had a name on your toilet.
Well, I called it the John like everyone else. I get so sick of calling it the John, going to the John. So I renamed it Jim.
Oh.
Working out really well. Everyone's so impressed when I tell them I'm going to the gym every day.
That's good. I like that.
I thought you might.
Speaking of gyms, I've been a member of the gym here locally in town for 6 months.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, I haven't lost not 1 pound.
Really?
I'm going to go down there pretty soon to see what's going on because
I think you should.
they're not doing something
I
right.
think you should. This calls for a one-on-one meeting.
Right? Haven't been there in 6 months, but I'll go check it out and see what the problem is.
Straighten people out.
Phew. Dude, we got a great episode tonight. We're talking
so.
about cryptids. Yeah.
And not the normal cryptids. Not
Right.
the cryptids you're
Not
used
the
to hearing
Bigfoot.
about.
Not the got a Bigfoot festival coming. We'll be talking about Bigfoot soon, I'm sure. But not Bigfoot. Not your Loch Ness Monster or your Mothman. Tonight's 3 that we're going to discuss are, well, unheard. I literally had to dig to find one of mine. One of mine I actually believe could have been an alien interaction, but it'll be fun. We can start with that one if you'd like.
Do.
All right, let's do it. So
But I mean, how can we not start with a cryptid slash alien interaction? What a prelude.
Right? And guess where it's at?
Where?
West Virginia.
Oh, we doggone.
There's so much in West Virginia. I counted it when I was doing my research. I counted almost 11 cryptids alone in West Virginia. That's a lot.
Yes, it is. For such a small state.
Yeah, it really is. And I didn't even throw in the feral men. My daughter will understand what that means. I got to tell you this funny story about West Virginia real quick.
Okay.
So my daughter and I were going to meet someone in West Virginia. We did that, and we were on our way back, and we stopped at Tudor's Biscuit World. Have you ever been to Tudor's Biscuit World? Well worth a stop. Yum, right? And we were sitting there, we were having a conversation, and literally this waitress come up, and she looked at Kylie and myself, and she's like, "So, how long you guys been together?"
Really?
Forever. She's my daughter. She's like, "Oh." Oh, it was funny. I thought that was hilarious.
Okay. Reminded me of another one that I should probably tell you off air. So remind me later. I'll tell you.
My daughter was flabbergasted. She was abhorred. She was everything the thesaurus could throw at it. I guarantee you. So anyway, let's go to Braxton County in West Virginia and talk a little bit about the Flatwoods Monster, also known as the Braxton County Monster or the Phantom of Flatwoods. It's a figure in West Virginia folklore tied to an alleged sighting on September 12th, 1952 in Flatwoods, Braxton County. The story begins somewhere around 7:15 when two brothers, Edward and Fred May, and their family friend Tommy Heyer claimed they saw a bright object streak across the sky. It landed on a nearby hill owned by farmer G. Bailey Fisher. Curious, the boys fetched, I like that. The boys fetched Kathleen May, the brother's mother, and were joined by local kids Neil Nunley and Ronnie Shaver, as well as 17-year-old National Guardsman Gene Lemon. Together, all of them hiked up the hill to investigate. So there's at least 8 people here. So it's not just one or two or, a couple of drunk folk. What they reportedly encountered was bizarre. A creature 10 foot tall with a glowing reddish face, shaped like an ace of spades. A body cloaked in a dark, possibly green or metallic or even an armored structure some described resembling a pleated skirt. Its eyes, or what appeared to be eyes, glowed an eerie orange or green. It seemed to hover or glide rather than to walk. The witnesses described a pungent, sulfur-like mist in the air, which left some feeling nauseated or even sick afterward. When Lemon shone a flashlight on it, the creature hissed and moved toward them, prompting the group to flee in terror. A dog that had accompanied them reportedly ran off with its tail between its legs. The incident quickly drew attention. The local sheriff and a deputy, already investigating reports of a crashed aircraft in the area, searched the site but found nothing. No creature, no craft, just a lingering odd smell. The next day, a journalist, A. Lee Stewart, reportedly found skid marks and an odd gummy deposit in the field, which some UFO enthusiasts later touted as evidence of a saucer landing. The story exploded nationally, ranking as one of the top news items of 1952. Fueled by the era's UFO craze and Cold War anxieties, it even sparked a U.S. Air Force inquiry under Project Blue Book, though no definitive conclusions ever emerged. Explanations have varied widely. Many modern researchers, like skeptic Joe Nickell, argued it was a case of misidentification and that the bright object was likely a meteor, like the one that was observed that night across Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. He said the monster could have been a barn owl perched in a tree. The owl's reflective eyes and silhouette and startled movements combined with the shadows from foliage might have created the humanoid illusion. The nausea, possibly hysteria or a reaction to a natural gas leak, or the owl's defensive spray. Witnesses, however, including the May brothers, still alive into their late 70s, stuck to their story, rejecting the stupid owl theory, in their words. The Flatwoods Monster has since become a cultural icon. Flatwoods actually embraces it with a big welcome sign dubbing it the home of the Green Monster, an annual festival, a museum in Sutton, and a giant monster-shaped chairs scattered all around Braxton County. It's popped up in popular culture too. Think Fallout 76, where it's teleporting an alien enemy, or Japanese media like The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and Danon, which riffed on its design. Theories range from extraterrestrial visitors to government experiment, but no hard evidence has surfaced to settle the debate. The debate, good gravy. Whether it was an alien or an owl or something else entirely, the Flatwoods Monster remains a haunting snapshot of 1950s Americana. Equal parts fear, equal parts wonder, and certainly a big helping dab of mystery.
I would say so.
What do you think about the Flatwoods Monster, Jerry?
I've heard of the Flatwoods Monster before. So, a little more credibility than, for instance, the one I'm going to talk about. I'd never heard of it before happening to run across it and doing research on it for the episode. Very intriguing, especially so many of these are, as you alluded to earlier, one or two people. It's a story
Right.
of one or two, sometimes three or four, but they're, a night of celebration with much alcohol being consumed. When you've got several people that are telling relatively the same story, that lends a ton of credence to it, to me. So I don't know. It seems like a very strange story, but it's one of those that's hard for me to discount offhand. So
7 people and a dog.
7 and a dog. Yeah.
Neat story. I tend to, everything around in Virginia has been credited to it. Usually is credited to birds.
Yeah.
I've seen owls, and they can be spooky at night. I can't imagine an owl on a tree limb, even with weird shadows and a bit of fear surging, that's going to make me believe an owl is a 10-foot monster.
I agree.
What do you got for us tonight, Jerry?
Well, I've got one that's a little bit different, a little bit further away from home. West Virginia from Kentucky is not that far away.
Right.
This one goes slightly further.
Oh.
For this one, we have to travel to the heart of Russia,
Ooh.
to a remote and beautiful lake that's shrouded in folklore called Lake Brosno. For centuries, whispers have persisted of a monstrous creature that lurks beneath its waters. They call it the legendary Brosno Dragon. Lake Brosno is in far western Russia. It's close to Belarus, Latvia. If you look at a map, Kiev, Ukraine, is approximately 500 miles straight south from where this is. The area is very beautiful. The lake is known as a great fishing spot, kind of like where I was born and raised on Lake Cumberland. The lake even has a sunken church on the western end of the lake. But beneath the tranquil surface lies a legend as old as time itself almost. For generations, locals have spoke of a massive serpentine creature that dwells in the depths of the lake. Now, tales of this dragon go back to the 13th century. One of the oldest legends claims that in the mid-1200s, during the invasion of Europe and the expansion of the Mongol Empire, Batu Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, he led his Mongol army towards Novgorod, one of Europe's largest cities and the capital of the Novgorod Republic. After a particular long march, he had ordered his men to rest, and they happened to be beside this large body of water Uh, and that, of course, made it easy to have plenty of water to refill, to allow the horses to drink, to get some downtime. Although they didn't know it, but the body of water that they had decided to settle down, take their break next to, was Lake Bronzo. And according to reports from the people that survived, suddenly, as the army was sitting near the water's edge, a large dragon-like creature came out of the lake and began snapping its jaws. And it began to eat men and animals alike. And they couldn't, of course, run away fast enough. Can you imagine if some monstrous being come out of the lake and started eating men and horses?
No.
So terrified at the horror that they had just saw, that was the end of this army. They fled the army. They abandoned their plans to overtake the city. The legend says that the dragon had saved the capital. Another legend within the area tells the story about a group of Vikings. And these guys had stolen a huge amount of treasure. And they were searching in this vicinity for somewhere to hide it. And they come up on the lake and they noticed a small island out in the middle of the water. And they thought this would be a perfect place to hide their treasure. And they loaded the treasure onto a small boat and they set out towards the island. As they got close to it, it said that a large dragon appeared from below the surface in between them and the island. Terrified of the monster, they tried to turn around and row back to shore, but to no avail. The dragon ended up eating and swallowing the entire boat and the people inside.
Jeez.
Now, I read this story and I wondered who told the story, if the entire boat and all the occupants were eaten. So I'm not for sure where the origins of the story was.
Well, even with that, I was like, don't let me interrupt. Finish your story.
Okay. Later in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was said that the monster started to become more docile. Locals in the area told stories about how the large dragon would appear on the lake's surface late in the evenings and just swim back and forth. They said that if anyone tried to approach it, it would simply sink back beneath the surface and then not appear again for several days. They estimated at the time that the monster to be around 16 feet long. They said that it had the appearance of both a fish and a snake combined, that it possessed an extremely large head. It had equally large eyes and a mouth, and exceptionally large fins and an enormous tail. More recently, in 1996, a family from Moscow was on vacation, and they took a blurry photo of a large creature seen swimming far off the shore in a calm section of water. And the monster brought to the attention of the adults, or came to the attention of the adults after their 7-year-old son had started shouting about the dragon that was out in the water. A year later, in 1997, sightings of a large creature that was seen frequently swimming in the water not far from shore began to spark interest in the dragon yet again. Those that lived along the shore of Lake Bronzo were even becoming quite terrified that the monster could possibly one day attack them if they ventured too close to the water's edge. Finally, in 2002, a team from the Cosmopoc Research Association, a group that researches claims of UFOs, cryptozoological encounters, and other supernatural paranormal phenomena, they launched an investigation into Lake Bronzo. Now, during their time on the water, they conducted deep echolocation sweeps of the lake, and they discovered a globster, in their words, a globster that was floating near the bottom of the lake. They ended up throwing a low-impact explosive near the location of the globster. It then broke free and rose to the surface. They tested the unidentified mass, which proved very interesting, as no lab could match the samples to any known creature within the lake. All that they said they could determine was that it was biological in nature and was more than likely alive at some point. Now, that's all that they supposedly were able to figure out from the globster. Some believe the dragon is actually a true relic from the days of the dinosaurs and is either a plesiosaurus or a zygolodon, similar to what many think the Loch Ness Monster is. But that's simply folklore. Whether it exists or whether it is, the scientists again have come up with a theory. They say it's simply a large pike that are known to grown to be quite large. I don't know how you confuse a pike with any of the descriptions that we've talked about, but that's one of the official descriptions. So that's the Brosno Dragon.
I think it's amazing how what I was going to say earlier is that what I was going to say before you said
Right.
the last part was that it was so different than the Loch Ness, that it has been seen on a regular basis, that the by numbers of people, and nobody is saying Loch Ness is swallowing boats. That's pretty impressive. We're all the way to Russia to get that one. You
All the
go.
way to Russia.
You do your homework, Jerry. Our fans and our listeners appreciate the amount of work. I mean, how did you find time to go all the way to Russia to investigate
It wasn't
this?
easy. Wasn't easy. I can say that.
That was pretty awesome. Wow.
What do you have for us?
So I'm going to bring it back to the United States. And now this is one I thought I'd heard about. You know me, I go some pretty deep holes. I thought I had heard about every cryptid possible in the United States.
But you hadn't heard about this one.
I hadn't heard about this one. And I would bet a ice cream cone that neither of you.
I would say you're probably correct.
All the way up in a little town in Northfield, Vermont is where we're going today. The Northfield Pigman is a chilling legend from the town of Northfield, Vermont. It has captivated locals and folklore enthusiasts for over 70 years. The story centers around a mysterious creature described as a humanoid figure with the head or face of a pig, often covered in white hair. It's said to roam the woods and fields around the town, particularly near an area known as Devil's Washbowl. The tale begins on October 30th, 1951. Now, Jerry, I can't help but notice that a lot of the cryptid stories that we have originate in the 50s. Now, that's before LSD.
But not before me.
Not before you. I mean, that says something. I wasn't going to say that. So the tale begins on October 30th, 1951, the night before Halloween, locally referred as Picket Night, a time when teenagers traditionally engage in pranks. On this night, a 17-year-old boy named Sam Harris reportedly set out with a basket of eggs, intent on mischief. That boy didn't know what he had, did he? He's sitting on a gold mine. He never, however, returned home. His disappearance sparked a massive search involving hundreds of locals across miles of rugged terrain, but no trace of Sam was ever found. From this event, the legend of Pigman took root. Some speculate that Sam became the Pigman, transformed by unknown forces, perhaps even the devil himself, while others suggest he met a much darker fate, possibly devoured by the creature that would later bear his name. Sightings of the Pigman began to emerge years later. One of the most famous occurring in 1971. A group of high school students drinking in a sand pit behind Northfield High School during a dance claimed to see a tall, naked figure covered in white hair with the face of a pig emerge from the woods. I'm sorry. I was just trying to imagine what I would be doing in that particular situation. Terrified, they fled, abandoning their beer in their panic. The story quickly spread, bolstered by a farmer who also reported seeing a similar figure rummaging through his garbage around the same time. Coinciding with the disappearance of some of his pigs, over the years, more and more accounts surfaced. Strange grunts and squeals in the middle of the night, cloven footprints near the Devil's Washbowl, and caves littered with animal bones, hinting at a creature's presence. The Pigman's descriptions vary. Some say it's a true hybrid, half human, half pig monstrosity, while others depict it as a man wearing a hollowed out pig's head as a mask. Theories about its origin are equally diverse. Many tied to Sam Harris, suggesting he survived his disappearance but descended into madness, living feral in the woods. Others propose it could be a new cryptid, a genetic anomaly, or even a supernatural entity tied to the eerie reputation of the Devil's Washbow, a natural formation of cliffs, streams, and caves that has long carried the ominous name. Less fanatical explanations point to a hoax, misidentified wildlife, or amplified teenage imagination and local storytelling. The legend has left a lasting mark on Northfield. It has become a cautionary tale for children, a rite of passage for teenagers daring to each other to explore the Wash Bowl, and a point of pride for the community. Local businesses embrace it. Good Measure Pub and Brewery offers a Pigman Lives beer, and Darn Tough, a sock manufacturer, features Pigman inspired art. Vermont folklorist Joseph Citro has chronicled the tale in books like Green Mountains, Dark Tales, and Weird New England. He calls it a wonderful story that unites the town, whether true or not. Sightings persist sporadically, however, keeping the mystery alive, although no hard evidence has ever surfaced. Skeptics argue it's just folklore, a blend of fear, youthful antics, and human tendency to explain the unknown with vivid tales. Believers, however, point to the consistency of eyewitnesses' accounts and the unsettling atmosphere of the Vermont wilderness. Whatever the truth, the Northfield Pigman endures as a haunting symbol of the strange, the unexplained, deeply woven in the fabric of this quiet Green Mountain town, who seem to have all had great encounters. The Vermont Pigman.
That is one of the scariest cryptid stories I've ever heard. Do you have any idea how scary you have to be to get a bunch of teenage kids to run off and leave their beer?
Right?
I don't know. I've ever heard another one that scary.
There was a part of this story that just grossed me out. And you know how I am with food anyway. Okay. The hollowed out pigs being used as a mask. Can you imagine sticking your head into a hollowed out pig's head just to scare people?
No.
Yeah, me either. No way.
I also just imagined, you know, when they dig a pit and they cook a pig?
Yeah.
The whole thing. Have you ever been to one of those?
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten some of that?
Have you met me?
I was just trying to imagine the look on your face when you see people eating that.
No, I don't care if other people do. I just know I'm not. Now, go process it overly, put it together, smash it, grind it, make it into a hot dog form. I'm all there.
Tastes really good, but it's not the most appetizing in appearance.
Yeah, no kidding. So here's let me just dig into a hole real quick, Jerry, about this. Vermont is not that far from the island where we have, was it called Paris Island, up off of New York, where we have the where they experiment with diseases and animals and maybe a washout. Just saying, a lot of creepy stuff's come out of there. We'll have an episode for that later in the year because that's a story I want to tell.
Sounds like a very interesting episode.
Yeah. So anywho, let's get back to what we do here, Jerry. The Flatwoods Monster. More or less coverage on the Flatwoods Monster?
I think that you and I are good enough. And actually, I'll just go ahead and shorten the whole thing. I think this applies to all three. I think you and I did such a superb ability covering it that we probably left so little that's not touched. It probably doesn't need anymore.
All right. I will agree on the Flatwoods Monster unless something else comes up, unless something happens.
That's true with all of them.
Unless I mean, there was a rumor that at the Flatwoods location they found some goo from where they supposedly landed the ship. If we test that and it turns out to be something,
And the globster that was released and rose to the surface of the Brosno Dragon.
yeah. So
If that turns out to be something different, that would change my opinion on that one. Otherwise, new evidence notwithstanding, I think we did such an awesome job covering it that it probably is sufficient for now.
thumbs down on all of them.
All three.
From both of
For
us.
more. And it's not really a thumbs down. It's a thumbs up on there for that fantastic reporting that it doesn't need additional. That's all I'm saying.
Well, so many times you get these things, and the Flatwoods Monster is the exception, not the rule. There was 8 witnesses right there together. You know what I mean?
I do.
On mine, there was on the Northfield Pigman, there was the one group of teenagers who were drinking. That's not a very credible group of witnesses, especially if they thought maybe they would get caught or they were going to get in trouble and they made up a story so they would get away with something. We've been teenagers. We know how that is. And back to yours, I just want to say, if that were the last one on the world and you just throw a low yield explosive on top of it, probably not the best, most scientific way of going about that. I'm just saying.
I would totally agree.
There is a story on an island outside of France where it's a very inhospitable island. Several hundred years ago, a family went out to settle it, took 6 cows with them. Family fled, left, couldn't make it. And there ended up being almost 2,000 cows, fast forward to today. And the French government just killed all the cows.
Wow.
Because they were encroaching on some birds' habitat. But the thing is, the cows had developed a certain amount of genes where, they were being able to breed without the negative impact of inbreeding, which scientists really wanted to learn what that was. What were they able to do where they weren't negatively affected by the constant inbreeding? And how they were able to survive on such limited resources. But they didn't get the opportunity. We were talking early at the beginning of the show about bringing things back from the dead on one hand, and then we got them over here just taking out a whole, potentially a new genetic form of the same thing.
I wonder if they did anything useful with the carcasses.
I have no idea. You would hope they donated them, gave
something.
them,
Yes.
Didn't just lay them
kill
lay.
it to let it.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I didn't see that part of the story. Well,
so I gave my thumbs up or down. Did you agree with all 3?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thumbs down on all 3 until if we get something new.
Right.
We have today's world is so small and getting smaller every day. We say this all the time. Bring me some footage. Bring me a camera, non-AI generated real picture
I agree.
of something. Soon, please.
Absolutely agree. And as you have said for a long time, the day is coming shortly, I think, where the same is going to be said about most cryptids, whether it's Bigfoot or all the big ones.
The world's getting to be very small.
Too many cameras. The world's getting too small. Somewhere along the line, there's going to have to be some hard evidence for all of it.
What a great conversation. But we're not done yet. Stick around through these very important ads for an awesome bonus story. JT's Way is a Christ-centered, nonprofit organization with a call to help hurting families during the loss of a child. At JT's Way, they assist families grieving from the loss of a child through assistance with things like funeral expenses, emotional support, guidance through the grief process, and help in their healing journey. While paying for funeral expenses, they help navigate picking a funeral home, burial plot, or cremation services, and provide families with grief counseling resources. JT was 17 years old when he died unexpectedly in an automobile accident. He was a senior in high school and a student in the automotive class. JT loved cars and music, and he took his role of friend very seriously and made sure to make friends wherever he went. Their mission at JT's Way is to minister to families by financially assisting and connecting them with their local resources. These resources will assist in the financial and emotional burden of bearing a child. Their aim is to aid in the healing process for parents and families, and these resources include grief counseling and parent-sibling groups. The outside world doesn't stop, but we can tell you from experience that a parent's world certainly does. In a time of desperate hopelessness, JT's Way provides hope. If you want to help support JT's Way in their mission, please reach out to them at www.jtsway.com. JT would often say, "Let me challenge you to make a friend, be a friend, and most importantly, bring a friend to the loving arms of Jesus Christ."
Hi, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Buying your first home can be overwhelming, but here are 5 tips to make the process go smoother. Number 1, find a lender, me, Ed Locke, that can answer any questions you might have and help you get pre-approved. There are multiple options available based on your situation. Number 2, work with a real estate agent you can trust. Number 3, don't rush the process. Take your time and know that the process could take some time. Number 4, consider all the costs. Number 5, get a home inspection and review it with your realtor. Keep these tips in mind, budget for yourself, and you'll be that much closer to making your dream of homeownership a reality. So reach out to me at 502-680-0953. NMLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, NMLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is an equal housing opportunity.
If you would like to share suggestions for future episodes, or simply tell us how much you love or hate us, reach out to us via email at newsworthywithsteveandjerry@gmail.com or text us at area code 540-709-1318. And now, back to the story.
We're going to stay in the Pacific, or the northeastern part of the United States, and we're going to talk about a cryptid museum all the way up in Thompson's Point, Maine. This small but unique museum is the world's only museum devoted to the pseudoscientific study of cryptozoology. Founder Lauren Coleman has amassed an incredible collection of scientific specimens, artifacts, and replicas related to some of the world's most famous cryptids, as well as some of those you may not have known. There are even many items that were once thought to be cryptid, but have since been proven true, such as the mountain gorilla, the okapi, the coelacanth, and the megamouth shark. If you're ever near Thompson Point, Maine, check them out. Give them a shot. Today's episode brought to you by our great sponsors, Ed Locke at USA Mortgage and Smoking Gun Jerky of Lincoln, Nebraska. Use code CRYPTID10 for a great discount. And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.